evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Thursday, November 20th, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. Congresswoman Nydia Velazquez announced today that she is retiring from Congress. Velazquez is the first Puerto Rican woman ever elected to Congress. That happened in 1993. She was initially elected to represent New York's old 12th district. Over the years, the lines have changed. She now represents New York's 7th district, which spans Brooklyn and part of Queens for the last 12 years. Our Dan Rivley joins me now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Errol. If you think about the political moment we're in today, young progressives learning how to build power, organize, and take office, well, that was Nydia Velazquez in a previous chapter of New York City political life, going back to her election campaign in 1992. There was a newly drawn House district meant to elect a Hispanic lawmaker, and she had an upset Democratic primary victory against a House incumbent and other Hispanic politicians who were eager to take that seat. And since that upset primary victory, she's held on to that seat for 33 years and has become a leader in the progressive reform movement here in New York City. Velazquez, age 72, released a statement announcing her retirement in 2026. I'm going to read part of it for you here. It says, "This was not an easy decision, but I believe that the time is right for me to move on and for a new generation of leaders to step forward." And she talked about how the American dream is slipping away for working people as wealth inequality worsens. But she says there's a new generation ready to take on the challenge. She goes on to say in that statement, "My district is home to so many dedicated elected officials, community leaders, and activists, and I have complete confidence that New York 7 will remain in good hands." New York's recent mayoral election showed that Americans are hungry for change and determined to build a better future. In that statement, she also talked about the highlights of her lengthy House career. She was chair of the Small Business Committee and the work she did there, the funding she brought back to New York, her vote against the war in Iraq, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, helping Sonia Sotomayor get to the Supreme Court, also the first Puerto Rican woman to sit on that part of the bench. And, of course, her work on changing the territorial status of Puerto Rico. Errol.
She has really been a legend. She's done a ton of different things over the course of, 16 terms in Congress. She's really a senior person. This is going to touch off a real free-for-all to succeed her, I imagine.
Absolutely. What I found so fascinating about her career, she enters the House as the first Puerto Rican woman. It is a Puerto Rican district. You had the Lower East Side, Bushwick, Williamsburg. Over 33 years, the district has changed. There are just fewer and fewer Puerto Ricans living there, and it has been basically the center of gentrified New York. And yet she's been able to be a leader in that community, mentoring young progressive reformers as they started to come of age and they wanted to get involved in politics, and they really looked up to her. That's why she's been able to hold on to the seat for so long and beating back pretty much with ease any challenger that came forward. Now it's a different district. It is, you could call it the commie corridor, the gentrification belt, but it is likely you're going to see the Democratic Socialists of America members who are in elected office definitely make a run for this. This is going to be a primary full of left progressive candidates.
It's been interesting over the years. You talk with different officials and you realize that behind the scenes she's been mentoring them, where, I've asked a number of officials, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And they would say, oh, my mentor, Nydia Velazquez, has taught us that we should do things in a certain way.
When I was a young journalist, Obama had just been elected. There's this new crop of young people wanting to get in politics. And I do a profile for a newspaper of this young man. He wins this upset race for Democratic district leader, right? The lowest of the low Democratic foot soldiers. His name is Lincoln Ressler, right? He's now a city councilman. And I mention that because they're having a meeting at this bar in Williamsburg, and who shows up? Nydia Velazquez, and she's feted like royalty. And I think that goes to show how a politician maintains a base in an ever-changing district.
A lot of staying power. Thanks very much, Dan. A Queens mother is speaking out tonight after her home was raided by federal ICE agents last week. She says that the experience has left her fearful for her safety and her family's. Immigration officials are defending their action, saying that they were looking for the woman's cousin, an alleged criminal. Our Kelly Mena spoke with the mom in an exclusive New York One interview and joins us now with the results. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. That mother at the center of this immigration raid is named Jennifer. She said that she never thought she would see ICE agents at her door, but then one day they came knocking.
The first thing that came to my mind was that they are going to take me.
That was a panic thought of a Queens mother of 4 when last Thursday, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents stormed into her home. Jennifer captured the scene on her cell phone.
I'm out here. 1 second.
The 33-year-old, whose last name we aren't identifying for fear of retaliation, spoke to New York One about what unfolded at 5:30 on the morning of November 13th after her husband left for work. Terrified under the covers, the family could hear as the ICE agents made it from the front door to the bedroom. It was there agents confronted Jennifer, who says she was breastfeeding her infant. She immediately hit record on her phone.
He said, "Come here, come here." I told him, "Wait, I'm going to move my child." The baby refused to let go of my chest. That's when he gets close to the bed and snatches my phone and throws it off the bed.
In the kitchen, Jennifer was met with her 3 older children who range in age from 16 to 13. She claims at one point the agents pointed guns at her kids when the family attempted to record again. The immigration officials said they were looking for someone, and they showed Jennifer a photo of a man.
And that's when he grabs me by my hair and takes me to the kitchen of my home. They were anxious for me to tell them where they could find him. I told them I don't know. They were stubborn, that I didn't want to cooperate. What do you mean I don't want to cooperate? How am I going to give you information on someone I don't know?
Officials with the Department of Homeland Security say they were looking to serve a criminal arrest warrant for Raimundo Gabriel Huera Betancourt, Jennifer's cousin, who has a history of assault, reckless driving, and illegal entry. They say Jennifer's address is used on Betancourt's legal documents. In a statement, they rejected claims they broke into her home. Officers approached the residence and knocked on the door for approximately 20 minutes, attempting to gain voluntary cooperation to enter the residence. When no response was received, officers used their training and lawfully entered the home. Officers safely guided her and the children to the kitchen for their safety while they searched for the criminal target.
My life has changed completely.
Despite not locating their target, the incident has left a lasting impression on the entire family.
My husband feels guilty because he wasn't able to defend me. He wasn't there. He had already gone to work.
As for Jennifer's kids,
they have a lot of fear. They haven't gone to school since this happened. They don't want to separate themselves from me. They say they are going to be with me, and if they come again, they will be there to defend me.
And Jennifer tells us that her and her family are still dealing with this incident. They're hoping to put it behind them, but there is fear that for them to go back to their home, Errol.
Yeah, the stunning thing is that warrants are served every day on people. Some of whom are much more dangerous than the alleged suspect in this case. But they're done in a way that's, sort of smooth and lawful and gets information. In this case, whoever they were looking for is going to just be in the wind now.
Yeah, it seems that they haven't located this cousin at all as of today. Who that is unclear. Jennifer repeatedly told us earlier today that she doesn't know who that man is, why her address was listed on his legal documents, or where he could be. She's obviously fearful for her family because she feels like there's this massive dragnet that's going on right now when it comes to immigration enforcement, and anybody could be roped in.
Well, yeah, I mean, here again, sort of lack of professional procedure, right? If they'd spoken with her, they might have actually gotten some useful information.
Right, and I mean, if you're looking for a man and you run into a woman with her kid, you would think you're probably not in the right place. And that was something she wanted to put a point on. She would have calmly come out. She was very scared the way that they were coming. She said she heard some knocking, but it felt unusual. And so she called her husband, who was at work. They do have surveillance cameras, and they didn't recognize anybody. They thought maybe they were looking for somebody else, which they were. And so that's why she didn't want to answer the door. It was also 5:30 in the morning. She has a house full of kids. She wants to protect them. And that's what unfolded, unfortunately.
Right. And so she really, I mean, again, because there's no conversation, it's unfortunate. She has no idea why they had the wrong impression. Like, they may have just had a wrong name, but surely one would imagine they had more to go on than just that.
Yes, and she said that she knew her rights, so she was asking for a warrant and to see some legal documents, and they weren't presenting them. And so they claimed she wasn't cooperating at that point.
Okay. Thanks very much, Kelly. We're going to take a short break now. When we come back, Mayor-elect Mamdani will travel to Washington, D.C. tomorrow to meet with President Donald Trump. We'll bring you a preview next. Also tonight, the comedian, the Kid Mero, is going to be here in studio to talk about Mayor-elect Mamdani's victory and his connection to Bronx voters. Later on tonight, I'll be joined by a leading backer of 2 bills that would roll back some of the city's short-term rental regulations that apply to Airbnb. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You've done at the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani is heading to Washington, D.C. tomorrow for a White House meeting with President Donald Trump. Speaking to reporters today, Mamdani described his goals for the mini summit, and separately, he seemed to change his tune on some police reforms in deference to Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who's staying on the job as NYPD commissioner. Our Bobby Kuza joins me now with more. Good evening, Bobby.
Good evening, Errol. Well, today Mamdani said it's sort of customary for a mayor-elect to meet with the president, given the relationship between New York City and the White House. But there's nothing normal about the relationship between this mayor-elect and this president, which is why all eyes will be on D.C. tomorrow.
For months, President Trump has lobbed insults and threats at Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. In many cases, Mamdani has returned them in force. On Friday, for the first time, the two will meet face-to-face.
My team reached out to the White House to set up this meeting because I will work with anyone to make life more affordable for the more than 8.5 million people who call this city home.
Mamdani has long made clear he was willing to talk to Trump about lowering the cost of living, an issue he says got both of them elected. He also said he'll raise issues of public safety, a thornier topic given White House threats of ramped-up ICE raids and sending federal troops to the city.
I intend to make it clear to President Trump that I will work with him on any agenda that benefits New Yorkers. If an agenda hurts New Yorkers, I will also be the first to say so.
It seems clear Mamdani won't be getting the red carpet treatment.
It speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country.
Also Thursday, Mamdani was asked about bridging disagreements with Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, whom he announced is staying on the job Wednesday. He seemed to soften his positions on eliminating the NYPD's gang database and on taking disciplinary decisions away from the commissioner.
I'm not looking to micromanage every single person that works for me. I'm looking to trust them to do their job. These are disagreements that are actually signs of a healthy relationship.
Mamdani was also asked about his appearance at a meeting of the Democratic Socialists of America on Wednesday night, where he discouraged members from endorsing City Councilman Chi Osei in a potential challenge to Brooklyn Congressman and House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries.
I do not believe this is the right time to wage this primary.
And as to whether Trump might try to belittle or embarrass him before the cameras, as he did to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Mamdani said being a New Yorker means you're prepared for all situations.
I'll be ready for whatever happens.
Now, we don't know exactly how this is going to go down tomorrow, whether the cameras will be invited for any part of the meeting. Are they going to be in the Oval Office like Zelensky? And the White House press secretary wasn't sure yet how this is going to happen. And maybe it's a closed-door meeting and we just hear about it afterwards. But a lot of anticipation about this meeting.
Well, I mean, the name-calling session from the podium by the press secretary gives you an indication of the spirit in which the White House is engaging here.
Right, but I mean, it is very difficult to know how this could go. I mean, we know that Mamdani can be a charming guy. We know that Trump can be very susceptible to flattery. So who knows? Maybe there's some universe where these guys actually get along. And Mamdani is the one who pushed for the meeting in the first place. So whatever that tells you. But I could see this going any which way tomorrow, and we'll see how.
Yeah, I'd bet money the flattery thing's not going to happen, but we'll see. Thanks very much, Bobby. I got a quick programming note. Our Bernadette Hogan is going to Washington, D.C. to cover the meeting tomorrow. So stay with New York One for political analysis and the latest out of Washington. In other news, former New York City Transit President Andy Byford has been making the rounds to civic and trade organizations, pitching his mission to transform Penn Station. He says it's a mandate from President Donald Trump himself, despite the president saying that he was terminating the Gateway Tunnel project. The work to build that second tunnel under the Hudson River continues, and Byford says that he's proceeding as if it will move forward. New York One Transit reporter Samantha Liebman has more in this report.
Regular Penn Station users have opinions on what could be better here.
We could always do a touch-up.
Higher ceiling. Probably a little bit better forecasting of what tracks the trains are going to be on so everybody's not running.
That's all in the works. Special advisor to the Amtrak board, or better known to New Yorkers as Train Daddy, Andy Byford laid out what he wants to accomplish with what's now being called the Penn Station transformation.
We are determined to give New York back a station worthy of this great city, of this state, and of this country.
While there is no price tag yet, Amtrak is soliciting developer proposals to get shovels in the ground by the end of 2027, leveraging public and private money. The plan to modernize the station, make it safe and efficient, increase accessibility and capacity, both for people and trains, in anticipation of when the Gateway Tunnel opens, the second rail tunnel between New York and New Jersey currently under construction.
We just have to get it done. And I think this is the optimism that Andy Byford is putting into it, the willingness to tackle a really complex problem and to work with a huge suite of people that, don't always get along.
While Byford offered a bit more detail, there are still many questions, including what role, if any, the president will play in the transformation.
I don't speak for the president. I work for Amtrak. My only motivation, and the reason I'm so happy to be back here, is because I want to be part of this iconic job to get Penn Station rebuilt. So I'm not getting involved with the politics.
But there is also an executive order from the president that classical Greek and Roman architecture must be used in federal construction. Byford says it's up to interpretation.
We want something that is functional, but that is beautiful and is a delight to use. On a personal note, I want to make sure it's something that isn't kitsch.
Byford also revealed he has not met with the president, but says the White House made it clear to him they want this done. At Penn Station, Samantha Liebman, New York One.
It is time for a break now. Coming up, I'll be joined by my Spectrum News colleague down in Texas to talk about this week's federal ruling that prevents Texas from using a redrawn congressional map in next year's midterm election. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters on your smart TV and connected devices, streaming live 24/7, plus on-demand weather forecast to help you stay prepared. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News, free with your Spectrum subscription, exclusively for Spectrum customers, now available on your favorite devices.
It's only a game. It's only a little rivalry. It's only a ritual. When I come home and a few generations. You're always there. And only Spectrum TV includes all your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. It's only a game. It's only everything.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first, stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Earlier this week, a federal court blocked Texas from using its redrawn congressional map in next year's midterm elections. The ruling is a blow to Trump's effort to create a more favorable political landscape for Republicans in next year's midterms, at least for now. A panel of federal judges determined that the proposed maps for Texas were created based on the racial composition of the districts, which in many cases is illegal. Joining me now to break this all down is my counterpart from Austin, Texas, that Spectrum News Texas political anchor. James Barragan is with us. Good to see you, James. And this ruling, which was authored by a judge appointed by President Trump, found that Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas legislature redrew congressional maps, not just to get more Republican districts, but that they explicitly used racial considerations and specifically targeted Black and Latino communities. Explain why that breaks the law.
Well, Errol, it's good to be with you. And yes, that is what the federal court ruled. Now, this goes back to the beginning of the Voting Rights Act in 1965. I mean, using race to discriminate against voters of color was illegal. But the interesting thing about this is that in the last 12 or so years, voting rights laws have changed, and they have said if you're doing it for partisan reasons, that is allowed. But it's using the race that's the problem. Now, in a twist here, the court said that Texas actually, in their redrawing, were the ones who used race to redraw maps. And they said, even though it's using it for a political advantage, you're clearly using race. So that was the ruling from this three-judge panel, went 2-1.
The legislature, I saw, specifically tried to break up so-called coalition districts where Black and Latino communities combined made up a majority. Why were those districts targeted?
Now, this goes back to this DOJ letter that they talked about in this ruling, which was a letter from the Justice Department, from the Trump administration, basically saying, hey, there's been a ruling that impacts these coalition districts, which is where those, two racial minority groups group together to elect candidates of their choice. Now, the letter said these are unconstitutional, and they said these are basically racially gerrymandered. Now, the court took issue with that interpretation and really took the DOJ to task on that, saying that that letter included legal, factual, and typographical errors, and that they didn't really understand that ruling. In fact, the Judge Brown, was one of the people who ruled in district court on that case and said, hey, you got it all wrong. There's no requirement that you have to redraw these coalition districts. So they really took them to task. And furthermore, they said, in trying to fix this remedy, which we don't believe that there needed to be a remedy, you guys are the ones who have used race, because they were suspicious of Republicans saying, hey, we never used any racial data. We've never used any racial data. We kept hearing that repeated over and over again. But the judges pointed out, if you guys never used racial data, how come so many of your new districts are just barely over 50% to become majority district? They saw that with a suspicious eye and pointed that out.
Okay, so now the midterms are next year. It's still November. Why didn't the court just let the legislature go back to the drawing board and try again and maybe just comply with the law?
Well, this is, of course, just a preliminary injunction. So we're just looking at a preliminary ruling. We haven't even really touched the merits of the case. The court now says, like, hey, we have to use the 2021 maps because there could be significant impact on the March primaries. We've got a filing deadline that's coming up for candidates on December 8th. They've got to know what map they're running in. So I think the court really factored that into their decision. And I think another thing that plays into this, Errol, is that they are relying on a map that these same lawmakers drew themselves in 2021. I think that played a little bit of a role here.
Oh, that's amazing. You have primaries in March. It's like you have, I guess, barely like 100 days to get all of this done.
That's correct, and that's the concern. Now, we have had this happen in previous redistricting cases where something like this happened, and it actually pushed the primaries back 1 month to April. Now, the interesting part about that is that that allowed a young candidate named Ted Cruz to eventually win the Republican nomination and go to the Senate.
Okay, very interesting. We'll be following along from here in New York. Thanks so much, James.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a short break now. When we come back, I'll speak to one of Zohran Mamdani's biggest supporters who helped him win the Latino vote. The Dominican-American comedian and podcast host, the Kid Mero, will be here next. Stay with us.
In Focus with Cheryl Wills, a weekly show discussing decisions and potential solutions for issues making an impact in your community and your city. If it's important to New Yorkers, then it's being talked about here. In Focus with Cheryl Wills, Sunday mornings at 10:30 on New York One.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network, and factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately, in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Oh, come on. Come on, listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something real fast. Cuomo is not coming uptown. He's not coming up here. If he is, he's going to some private dinner event with a bunch of people that are not real people. We're here to park with some real people. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was a look at one of Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's campaign videos that went viral on social media. Mamdani's unique social media strategy and his collaboration with some big names helped him connect with a diverse crowd of voters across the 5 boroughs, and that includes my next guest. The Kid Mero is here, a Dominican-American comedian and podcaster from the Bronx. They're walking the streets of Washington Heights. They were out there days before the primary election. He's a celebrity in his own right, so people are hugging up on him. Joel Martinez, also known as the Kid Mero. joins us to talk about the Mamdani win and much more. Thanks so much for coming in. Great to see you.
Hey, Errol, my man.
Absolutely.
Let's go. We on New York 1, baby. Let's go.
You grew up in the Bronx.
Yes, sir.
You know, you're familiar with Washington Heights, to say the least. But you've moved across the Hudson to New Jersey with your family, and that's actually related to why you're supporting Mamdani, right?
Yes, because it was, I couldn't afford it. It was unaffordable. You know, I'm a father of 4. You know, even as a dual income household, you know, even as people are like, man, stop the cap, Mero, you are on TV. There's no way. And people automatically, because you're on TV, that you have $1 million trillion, and that wasn't the case.
No, believe me, I know, Doc.
don't call up Mero asking him for Con Ed money. It's not happening. But no, so it was really like, you know, my wife was teaching at the time. I had just kind of like got into entertainment and TV, and we were both doing pretty well for ourselves. And even still, you know, we couldn't afford to buy something like a condo or, you know, anything that would fit, you know, the amount of kids that we have.
Yeah, I mean, 4 kids, you're past the 1-bedroom stage, right? You're past the 2-bedroom stage.
We were in a 3-bedroom and trying to make it work, you know, and having like room to do work, because she does a lot of work at home. I do a lot of work at home. So just trying to have the space to do everything that we needed to do was like impossible.
And so how did you hear about Mamdani, and how did you actually connect up with him?
Well, it was funny because, you know, UPK is one of the things that kind of pushed me out of the city. When it stopped being a thing, I was like, oh, wow, okay, now I got to come up with this extra, you know, 5 figures yearly, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? So, you know, shout out to Min Tran, you know, on my team, and he kind of put me on to Zohran early, to the point where if you go, check out Victory Light, y'all, you know what I mean? If you go on there, we sat down, I think it was like in April, you know, and he was polling like low. You know?
Yeah, no, he was single digits.
Single digit polling, but like a lot of the stuff that he was campaigning on, the policies, the UPK, you know, the rent stuff, you know, really spoke to me, you know, as a born and bred Bronxite. And my sister's out there, you know, my parents are there. So it was like, okay, this is for those people. Because my mom and my dad's an HVAC technician, my mom's a public school teacher. And on those incomes, they were able to buy a house.
How about
you know? And, you know, I was like, well, that's the American dream, isn't it? Like, you know, like I have a job that contributes to society. You know, I'm here educating children. My dad's making sure that your butt don't sweat in the summer, and you can't afford to buy a house.
No, it's true. It's true.
It seems kind of wild.
No,
so
prior generation was a different story. My dad was NYPD cop, sole breadwinner. My mom later took a part-time job, but there were 7 of us, 5 kids. And he bought a house. Yeah. And, I mean, it could be done back then. Yeah. So did you give him any social media tips? You're very comfortable in the streets. We showed a little bit of that there. Right?
So listen, I love, you know, I love the Bronx. You know what I mean? I love New York City. I'm a New York City kid through and through, man. I always say, like, what makes you really a New Yorker is, where did you go to school? Did you go to, you know, 3rd through high school in New York City? Then you are a New Yorker. And so there's a lot of, you know, like just, you know, like I said, like I love my city. So there's, you know, for me, it was easy to just kind of go out there and just not tell Zohran, like, yo, this is what you need to do. Right. But just kind of like, hey, like, let me put you on, you know, like, this is what I do. You know,
did you have any sense that he was rising in the polls? Because all of us in the political class, we were watching this, and people couldn't believe what they were seeing as he just went from, you know, 10% to 12% to 15% and then ended up winning.
I had a lot of faith in it after we did that walk and talk that you guys just rolled, because a lot of young people in particular were really engaged. And at that day, I think it was like voting was still open. So a lot of people were coming from the polls. Right. So we're walking around and then there's people that are, you know, 20-something, 30-something. And are like, hey, man, I just came from voting for you in the primary, like, you know, da-da-da-da. So there was a lot of excitement around him. And I was like, man, if you just keep doing what you're doing here, just going down, boots on the ground, meeting people where they're at. Yep. You know, earlier in his campaign, he was on Fordham Road in the Bronx. And it was like, this is what you need to do. Just talk to these people, man. The only thing I did say to him was just like, listen, there's, you know, because, you know, he's running against Cuomo. I was like, brand loyalty is good for things like ketchup, and tires, not for politicians. You know what I mean? Just because this is a brand of politicians that you know don't mean nothing.
No, that's very interesting. And in fact, Cuomo ended up winning the Bronx in the primary. You talked about him being out on Fordham Road. I think we have some video of him. This is something he did that, you know, every other candidate's going to do this now because it was brilliant. I had never seen anybody do this. He went and found Trump voters and started talking to them. Let's take a look at this.
And who did you vote for?
Donald Trump.
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 The million-dollar question. Trump.
Honestly, I didn't vote.
Actually, I did not get a chance to vote.
But I didn't want to anyways.
What we're finding today, remember exactly where we were? There are far more people excited about the possibility of politics in the city on the same street, where last year there were very few who were looking to have that conversation. You going, boss?
Let's go, Zohran. You got my vote.
How you doing?
Yes, the mayor. Yes. I'm voting for this guy. You are the best, bro.
Thank you, bro. How are you? It's time for a change.
Okay, so is it the man, the message, the media? I mean, they all linked up in his case, but how do you assess it?
I think what's special about him also is that he's a regular dude. Like, if you watch, like, you know, obviously, like, when he does, like, serious, like, stuff, if you're sitting down with Errol Lewis, you know what I mean? We're talking about policy, we're talking about certain things, but when he's out on the campaign trail, he's talking to people, he's meeting them where they're at. And he's a regular guy, you know what I mean? Like, he could talk to you about, you know, yo, my heat went in my apartment because he has an apartment in Astoria. So it's just like, there's a lot to be said about his relatability, you know, the fact that you couldn't spin him. You know what I mean? Like, he always came back to the yo, listen, I'm the mayor. I'm running to be the mayor of New York City. That's my main concern, is affordability. You know what I'm about. And they couldn't spin him into, like, you know, a lot of media outlets try to get him to the spin zone.
Explain the concept of a Trump Mamdani voter. November of last year, they voted for Trump. June of this year, they voted for Mamdani.
You know, people. It's a lot of it is in the messaging and in the personality. Like, you know, people say that about Trump all the time. It's just like, when he came out, it was just like, this guy's personality is different than what I've seen. Like, every other politician is very buttoned up. They're very this, they're very that. I can't relate to them on any level. A lot of people related to him on some level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It did what it did. You know, Zohran is kind of like this is Wario to Zohran's Mario. You know what I mean? Where people relate to him on a good level.
Let's plug your podcast. You got two of them. They got different flavors.
Yes.
Take us through it.
Yes. So Victory Light is, you know, like an extension of the mind of Mero. Actually, Victory Light was a blog that I started back in like 06, 07. And I would write there, and that's kind of what spurred me on to start writing for TV and for other things, because the people that were reading it, it wasn't a ton of people at first, but that group of people that were reading it, I was like, wow. I was like, this is the editor for the New York Times, and this is, you know, this is Wale, and this is like, you know, this person and that person. So I was like, wow, you know, Anthony Bourdain's reading my blog. Like, you know, whenever I erratically post on this thing, you know? So that's kind of like a full circle moment now, because Victory Light, the podcast, is, I like to say that I'm not a ladder puller, right? So like, I'll climb that ladder and I'll leave it right there for the next kid from the Bronx or uptown to climb it and follow in my footsteps, or whatever you want to call it. But that's kind of what Victory Light is. It's like a farm system, you know? So I have two very talented young co-hosts, Lisbel Ortiz, the younger sister of Verdell Ortiz, who's also a very funny dude in his own right, and Rainier Valle, who's a very multi-hyphenate, talented dude. Even got me on the impressions. I used to be the impression guy, and he got me. So there's that, and then I got 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony, which, if you're a fan of basketball, if you're a fan of New York basketball, if you're a fan of New York culture, that's literally like if you're hanging out at the barbershop and Melo pulls up.
Great stories, great basketball stories, and a whole lot more. You're probably going to get approached by a lot of politicians, you know.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you know, I feel like people see something work, and then they're like, yo, let's do that same thing. But it's like, man, listen, you're not, listen, like I said, where's my single? Listen, you're not Zohran. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're not Zohran. He's a special, you know, first of all, he's a very genuine dude.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because the word politician is almost pejorative nowadays. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, this guy's a politician.
Almost.
Yeah, you know, yeah, it is. You know, so, you know, anybody that's like, I'm not a politician. I am, but I'm not like the other ones. You know, it's like, but he's a special guy in that regard, man. Okay. So listen, all of y'all that are just trying to run a play, it don't work like that. You know, you can run a play, but it's like Michael Jordan's running it versus me. you know.
We shall see. Well, listen, thanks so much for coming by. Great talking with you.
Thank you.
Great podcast, everybody. You should check it out. A lot of profanity. I'll warn you in advance.
Yeah.
It's real. It's real street. It's real gritty from the streets. Thanks a whole lot for coming by.
Just like Errol.
Okay. It is time for a break now. When we come back, New York One is highlighting groups that are giving back to their communities ahead of the holidays. We're going to tell you about one nonprofit in Queens that is charging New Yorkers what they can afford for a whole box of fresh food. Stay with us.
The next downtown local 6 train to Brooklyn Bridge City Hall will arrive in 2 minutes.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer.
I'm so honored to be a meteorologist here at New York One because as a Brooklyn kid, this is the station that I grew up watching.
Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our weather on the ones. Watch the New York One weather experts on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. According to a recent report by the Robin Hood Foundation and Columbia University, a growing number of New Yorkers are struggling to put food on the table. The study says that roughly 4 in 10 families cannot afford their weekly groceries. New York One's Noralyn Kawaja caught up with a Queens nonprofit organization that helps to feed people, not just during the holiday season, but year-round.
Omar Bravo says helping people is central to his life's mission.
Giving back to me is taking care of each other in the community.
His focus on community began 5 years ago during the COVID-19 pandemic, when Bravo, a former restaurant chef, saw his neighbors out of work and without fresh food. He co-founded an outdoor community market in Long Island City called Connected Chef.
Nobody should be struggling to eat.
To get started, he used GoFundMe, paying farmers in the Hudson Valley market rate for their produce, but offering the food at whatever Queens residents could pay. Connected Chef says it has served nearly 50,000 people in 5 years at its LIC location, but moved last month to Woodside, in part because they required more space.
We get to do more.
The organization says it raises money through individual donations, state and federal funding, and earned income from people paying what they can.
Giving access to families who don't have resources or don't have enough income. So anybody who comes and shop to our community fresh market, If they choose to take 25% or 50%, we don't ask them any questions.
Bravo says more than half of the free grocery store boxes packed in Woodside go straight to households run by women, including single mothers at Queensbridge Houses, the nation's largest public housing complex. And the nonprofit organization's Fresh Market is open 3 times a week for New Yorkers who want to shop in person.
I think it's really important to pay it forward, and I think that's exactly what Omar does, not only with his work, but just how he treats people.
Nadine Edwards pays on a sliding scale and says she looks forward to picking up her groceries every week.
Many families were working families, and we bring home a paycheck, but we're living paycheck to paycheck. And it's been just really hard to sometimes just afford the simplest and the healthiest of foods.
Bravo says he wants this shopping experience to be dignified for all community members, those who can afford to pay and those who need to rely on the sliding scale option.
I don't do it to be a hero or to make me feel good about it. I just know that there is so much need in our communities, right? Especially education, food, which is a human right.
Norlane Kawaja, New York 1.
It is time for a break. Coming up, we'll take a look at 2 bills before the City Council that seek to undo Local Law 18, which drastically reduced the amount of short-term rentals in New York City. I'm going to talk it over with the president and CEO of the Housing Partnership. Stay with us. Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 on Spectrum News New York 1. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Today, the City Council held a hearing on 2 bills that would undo some of the biggest changes to a law that was aimed at regulating short-term rentals, such as Airbnb here in New York. Local Law 18 took effect more than 2 years ago. The 2 latest proposed bills, which are backed by the rental company Airbnb, would no longer require that the rental host be present during the stay, and would increase the number of guests that would be allowed in each rental. Opponents of the bills include Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, Attorney General Letitia James, as well as the Real Estate Board of New York and the hotel unions. Here to break it all down, what it might mean for our economy and for the families here in New York, we've got Jamie Smar. He is President and CEO of the Housing Partnership Development Corporation. Welcome to the program. Great to see you.
Thank you, Errol.
Explain to my viewers what the New York City Housing Partnership does.
The Housing Partnership is a non-for-profit organization. It was created by Mayor Koch and David Rockefeller more than 40 years ago. And since that time, our main cause has been middle-class housing in New York City. So we're proud to say that we have actually created 40,000 1-, 2-, and 3-family homes since 1983. Last year, we made 700 New York families first-time homeowners. So our cause and our mission is squarely within with the middle-class housing community.
Okay, so now match that with Airbnb rentals. Generally, rentals are allowed, but with some restrictions. Yes. Well, actually, let's take a step back. How do short-term rentals affect the market as far as you're concerned? Do they help alleviate the housing crisis, or are they exacerbating it?
Well, we actually look at this as an additional tool that middle-class families can use right now. Because I think what we're focused on is right now there is a dire housing emergency in New York City, and it is robbing our neighborhoods of, particularly our middle-class neighborhoods, of resources. They're struggling under the weight of taxation, of insurance, of all sorts of fees, violations, and fines. And the reason that we're supportive is this is giving our middle-class homeowners, these people who have remained in New York, and they need an additional public policy tool to be able to deal with rising costs. And we don't think this is exacerbating New York's housing crisis whatsoever.
Are they competing with, are they making into sort of semi-hotel rooms what would otherwise be permanent long-term housing?
The answer is no, because this legislation, as we've reviewed it, actually requires the homeowner to remain. They can only actually rent their primary unit as a home share. So if they had an additional unit, they're not actually allowed to do that as a home share. So,
okay, so now, I mean, they're tweaking it, and it gets very nitty-gritty, but, you know, the thing that stood out for me was there's a current law that requires all internal doors in a unit if you're renting out part of your home for an Airbnb. All of the internal doors have to be unlocked. What's that all about? Why would changing that rule in particular make it easier for homeowners?
Well, it allows a home share to have some privacy, and so that, first and foremost, is why there are these internal door lock issues. So right now, if someone is doing a home share, the entire home has to be open to them. And in some of these 1- and 2-family homes, which is what this legislation is dealing with only, 1- and 2-family homes, there needs to be an ability to actually create some privacy from the home share.
The bill would also remove any cap on the number of days that a host could be away. And this is, I guess, where people start thinking, well, you start turning into an absentee landlord at that point.
We have not seen that in the data so far. And in fact, we think that the issue that, as the legislation defines it, is it says you have to be a primary resident. So we think that means that you have to be there at least half the year.
So now, I mean, some of the same co-sponsors of Local Law 18 are also now co-sponsoring these changes. What has changed in the interim 2 years?
Well, I think probably the data has shown us that this legislation is ineffective in its current form. I think the original sponsor, as you said, has said that it has gone too far. It went too far, perhaps, and there need to be some tweaks. And this is what, you know, is before the city council right now, is a few tweaks that will give middle-class homeowners another economic tool to deal with this clear tsunami of affordability right now.
Does it change the conversation at all, the fact that Airbnb has made donations to some of the legislators, and I believe they're a supporter of your organization, if not members of your organization, right?
Well, we're actually delighted to have Airbnb on board because they, in fact, understand what the mission of the Housing Partnership is, which, again, is to creation of middle-class housing opportunities. So I think, you know, the hotel industry is funded on their side. Airbnb has come in on the Housing Partnership side, squarely with middle-class homeowners. So we don't have an issue with that at all.
Right. So without this tool, if people are not able to use short-term rentals to their advantage, is there a category of homeowner who would be in danger of losing their property?
We've already seen this, Errol. New York is losing a solid class of Black and Latino homeowners. And that is a bad thing for New York because New York is losing its clout. As it loses its population, we've already seen it in the last decennial census, we lost 2 seats in Congress, and it's bound to happen again in 2030. So this is a real issue for us. We need to be able to hold on to our middle-class families. In today's council hearings, there was a big discussion about the World Cup. The fact that we're even able to host the World Cup coming up is because our middle-class homeowners have kept New York neighborhoods. They've safeguarded these neighborhoods for the last 4 decades. And we're enjoying the clear benefits and dividends of our middle-class homeowners safeguarding our neighborhoods. And we need to stop the trajectory of them leaving the city.
Both this issue and many of the other ones that you deal with as an organization, to the extent that you're bolstering home ownership, small home ownership, it puts you in the minority, right? So you're politically always at a disadvantage in a city where 3/4 of the people are renters, right?
That's absolutely right. As I said, that's why we're so happy that just last year we made 700 New York families first-time homeowners. New York has a home ownership rate that's half the national average. We need to change that. We must change that. We must change the conversation about home ownership. So again, that's why we're delighted to be supportive of this legislation.
The mayor-elect used to be a foreclosure prevention specialist, so he's at least acquainted with your issues. On the other hand, he's still the mayor of 8 million people and responding to the political winds that are blowing. Maybe in the opposite direction right now.
Well, we look forward to working with the mayor and exposing him even more to some issues of creation of first-time homeowners, because it's clearly something that every borough of the city needs. We need to rapidly expand home ownership in this city.
Do you think this is going to get a vote before the end of the current council at the end of December?
We're very confident that the legislation will move. I was there today to offer my testimony. We think this is a common sense tweak to a local law 18, so we're very confident it will pass.
Okay, we will be watching this as we get closer to the end of this city council. Jamie Smart, so much for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks so much for watching and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
That's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything.
Hey, brother. Be careful.
Movies.
I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
You're a superhero.
No.
Series.
There was another murder in the building.
Sports. Reality.
Here's to a summer you'll never forget.
News.
Here's a look at today's top story.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
Even more of your favorites with live TV.
Welcome into First Take.
Stream across your devices and watch anywhere. At home or out and about. It's the entertainment experience you've been waiting for. Streaming apps included at no extra cost.
Who's got that, pal? Get a good look.
With live TV and on demand. All together, all in one place for you to enjoy.
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
At Spectrum News, we're committed